Welcome to this Planning Commission meeting. It's September 19th meeting of the Nevada City Planning Commission. We are called to order.
Sorry about that.
This Planning Commission meeting convenes on the ancestral territories of the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe. Pledge of Allegiance. And Xisco Martinez, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Does that involve standing up and saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
It does.
All right. Yes, please.
Just like the old days.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Donna, would you do the roll call for us?
Yes. Commissioner Xisco?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
Commissioner Van Zandt?
Here.
And Chair Nye.
Here.
We're present.
There will be public comment available on each agenda item, and there's also a time at this time for public comment for items not on the agenda. And if it's not on the agenda, we commissioners can't discuss it, and there's a time limit of 3 minutes if anyone has a public comment for any item not on the agenda. Come forward and let us know who you are.
My name is Gail Damsky. I live on Prospect Hill. I have been a resident of Nevada City since 1976, straight out of college. I came to this town as a Bay Area transport. My mother was a U.S. history teacher, and I was part of the family that every Sunday drive we would stop off at the historical plaques. So I've been coming to Nevada City since childhood. I came down here in the late 60s before the freeway was put in, so I've seen this town go through a lot of change. And I want to thank you all as planning commissioners. I was once a planning commissioner, and I know how much time it takes to read a packet. But I'm here to kind of talk about something that took place at the last meeting. It is my fault because I trust you so explicitly that I don't even look at what's going on. I just hope that you're doing the right thing. And I have emailed Lisa over this, and I've passed the appeal period, so I can't do a thing about it. But this has to do with the demolition of a building that's up at the Marsh House. It was looked upon as having no significance historically. It is on, however, it is on both the 1898 and the 1912 sandboard maps. So given that fact, you can see that it is a historical building. What was shown at your past meeting was the 1955 garage that was built by the Christies, which had the apartment above, and it showed all of the god-awful insulation falling. This is also due to the fact that the place has not been roofed since it was purchased. I look at it as anyone's fiduciary responsibility, especially if you own one of these historic houses, to please try to do your best to keep it up to par. I think our new nuisance ordinance is going to be dealing with this kind of thing, so that if you have a bad roof, you re-roof it. But I was lucky enough to have lived at the Marsh House for 3 years. In that upper apartment building, I knew the owners. And after that, I maintained the grounds for another 15 years. So I have...
Pay attention to time.
I am. Okay, so what I want to show you, and I can only do it from a distance, I have proof, past distance, can't do a thing about it. This was historic mother lode architecture, and it's now being demolished. I wish that you had a committee that would do the footwork to go out and look at these buildings. If not, I would love to be the head of one. I know a lot about this town. We're losing a lot of people.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Thanks for bringing that. Next is the consent calendar, and the consent calendar, the consent agenda are routine items, and all recommended actions of the staff report, which are in the list of consent calendars, will be approved as in one motion. If any commissioner or member of the public would like to pull an item from the consent calendar for separate discussion, we can do so. And if anyone desires to do so at this time?
Nope.
So let us, is there a motion to approve the
I move
consent
that we
calendar?
approve this consent calendar.
Second?
Second.
In favor of approval of the consent calendar?
Aye.
So item 4, 232 Commercial Street, repaint in the Historic District for the River Downtown. Come join us if you would.
Ann, how was your first month?
I came back is what,
Still here, right?
that was the observation, so yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Lisa, would you give us some intro on where we are?
Of course. So this application is for architectural review for a repaint at 232 Commercial Street, which is the future home of the River Downtown restaurant. The building is historic and is shown on the 1898 Sanborn maps. The applicant was before you at our August meeting and has returned with a different proposal for the repaint. The colors that are proposed for this go-round are, the body color remains the same as a Knoxville gray. The trim is proposed to be Everard blue. The trim, that's T1. The other trim color is Livingston gold. And then accent colors are both Palladian blue and buck trout brown. I will note that the colors, 3 of the colors are from the Benjamin Moore Historic Palette, and I believe that the colors that are represented by a CW are also a historic palette. I'd have to look that up to refresh my memory.
It's the Williamsburg collection.
The
from
Williamsburg
Benjamin.
collection,
Yeah.
which is Benjamin Moore as well. And that, the description of that collection is that it's a historic colors. And I will let the applicant add anything that I may have missed, and then we'll allow the commission to ask questions.
I just want to say, I took your comments to heart and went back, and Christine and I said, okay, you know what, let's actually hire a color consultant. And this is Raquel. She came highly recommended. In fact, there's 4 different magazines that she's written articles in. If I can leave them here, or you can look at these. And we're pretty excited because we've made a new proposal, yeah? Would you want to add anything, or?
Just a little background on myself. I have a degree in historical architecture from the Berlin University in Germany. And I also did the training of the International Architectural Color Consultant, an organization that was formed in 1957 in Europe, and they had a branch educating people here. And I've been doing color consulting, in the architectural color consulting and interior design in Nevada City for the last 15 years, Nevada City, Grass Valley. So the Don Baggett Theater new colors were proposed by me, even though it was arm wrestling with the maintenance department, because they didn't want all these colors. The first, I think it's 221, just by the hotel in the bottom of Broad Street when it was still all green. There was also something I specified. So if you have any questions.
I have the swatches here, I'll pass around.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, this is handy. Where's Amy?
She is absent.
Can I vote for her?
What?
I said, can I vote for her?
Yeah, right? Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be great.
You need one of these though first.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's a good question. Any questions from the commission of the applicant?
Is there anything you'd like to add about, how you selected these colors and any particular historic association that you would have related to them?
I mean, I always try to find a good median between my client's taste and what is architecturally appropriate. Some of it is right brain, nonverbal necessarily, but if you have questions, I can answer them. If that's, I don't know how you want to do it.
I just would add too that Raquel came to our building and Christine and I for a couple hours were out in front and she looked at the street and just said, okay, we gave her a feel of what colors we like and she said, okay, this wouldn't. So we really tried to make it fit. And that was the goal. Yeah. Yeah.
My question would have been essentially like Rod's. In the historic district, there's a concern about historicity. The pastel colors that we have going around aren't historic. Essentially, it was white or red if you couldn't afford pigment in your paint. But lighter color schemes tend to give the impression of historicity, which is why they predominate here. White or a pastel color, some body color with a white trim, or a Victorian painted lady thing. And I wondered if you had taken the historic feel of the city as a whole, the historic district as a whole, into consideration.
Yes, I mean,
question, but-
the Painted Ladies, I studied the 3 books that were published of Painted Ladies, and of course it covers the whole of the United States. So there's a little bit of what is appropriate to our area in the context of Victorian homes. You can go all out with 20 colors, and you can subdue it a little bit because this is a very small front. We didn't want to have too many colors, so it doesn't look too much like a gingerbread, and it's also my client's tendency not to have it look like a gingerbread. In relation to pastels, I would say that, like in the Italianesque era of the Victorians, there is a little bit more pastel, but there's certainly many other painted ladies that are very deep colors. As long as they're historical, meaning there's not going to be a lime green, or they're all much more muted, because they used usually oxidized pigments that, it's not what we have available now. So as long as they're muted and not too bright, I think that it will be historically appropriate.
Thank you.
So-
That's a very thorough answer.
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if one of the concerns that we had last time was that the trim kind of,
You mean the black?
the black, yeah, kind of didn't stand out enough so that you couldn't see as much of the architectural detail, and this seems even less of a, the gold really wants to fly. Really, it seems like even less of a contrast, so I'm wondering what you think about not being able to see the architectural details as much if the trim is really similar to the base. Because I think that's part of
Well, do
historicity.
you have a photo of the front? Shall we pull up the newspaper article? Do you have a photo
Lisa may
of
be
the
able to bring it
front?
up.
I could do that.
the other thing you may want to take into consideration that when we're dealing with exterior colors, they always look much lighter outside than they look in the room like this. So when you're looking at the
sun.
little chip of a color, let's say with light reflection value of 45, when you look at it outside, it looks much lighter. So just something that you want to take into consideration.
All I can see is me losing my hair. Did you hear what I said?
No.
I said, all I can see is me losing my hair.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
So we doing questions?
We're waiting for Lisa to bring up
Oh, there we go.
an as-is picture of that.
It's not the full, oh, that's much better. If you don't mind me, so, there isn't really that much trim to speak of in this because, so there is the balustrade right here, which I would say that would be a good trim color. Now there's a very beautiful metal that you guys approved, a metal planter. So we're gonna take the color of the metal planter and put it here underneath. And this is actually gonna be all the body color because otherwise it's just gonna be too chopped up. It doesn't have the architectural integrity for the building. So we're actually gonna do all this except the insert here. Do you see this little insert here? That's gonna be in a trim color, and then the columns are gonna be more distinct because they're kind of nicely placed on either side of the building. Does that answer the question? Did you? So if you, hold on, let me just go over if you wish to.
The columns are the body color, right?
Well, mostly, but then you have all these little details on it.
And while you're there, to clarify, the balustrade upstairs is the Everard Blue G1?
Yes, and then the ceiling here is gonna Palladian blue, which really is gonna, it's gonna, because it's on the second floor and the people look at it, it would gonna be relatively prominent. So that's this. And so the balustrade is all gonna be the Everard Green, which is the C.W. Williamsburg collection, and then it's gonna be against the body color and the Palladian blue. Let's see here.
If I can speak to your question?
Yeah, maybe you can think of a better question.
My recollection of what we invited the applicant to come back with was a non-black, less sharply contrasty color, a more muted contrast. That was my understanding of the direction
That's what I remember.
that they received.
I don't know that the goal, I don't know, maybe so, like less dark, but I don't know that the goal should be to not be able to see the architectural, like having less contrast between the base. Like, I think the idea was to maybe just have not as severe of a color. I mean, that's what I was thinking, and I was just wondering how this addressed that. Because like from this angle, the balustrade is against the back. And yeah, these might be lighter outside, but there's still gonna be the same difference between them, which isn't a whole lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't know if that architectural detail is gonna shine, which that maybe isn't the priority. It seems like it should
And
be
which
something part of the thought.
which architectural detail
The
specifically?
actual balustrade, the part, you know, the most kind of prominent detail in my mind of these buildings is these balconies that just That's what I think of.
So mostly what you're gonna see actually when you're standing on the street is the Everett green
Which is, yeah.
against the Palladian blue.
Okay, because you're looking up.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Any other questions?
No, I have a comment, but I'll wait till we get to that.
Okay. Now would be the time for public comment before we get into our discussion. And if there's any public comment on this item, you're welcome to join us. We're not receiving any Zoom comments, and I'm not seeing anyone standing up to make a comment. So that's it. We'll move directly to commission discussion. We'll start with Peter.
First thing I did was look for the photograph with the painting, and it's not here. We just have this diagram with references to these colors. So the color scheme and how it fits in the neighborhood is part of our job, you know, what it looks like and how does it fit in. And I can't tell that particularly, how it all goes together, because I got a diagram here. So missing that mock-up, which we had the last time, which was very, very handy, makes it very difficult to make a judgment on this. So that's where I'm at it. No, wait, this is us, right?
Yeah, if
I'm sorry.
if we have a question for you, we'll ask.
Yep. Yeah. Anyway, that's my statement, and at this point, so.
So you have no comment on the color scheme itself, or you feel you can't see it?
Well, we have 4 colors, and I don't know what that's going to look like. Our direction in the historic district is compatibility and the overall look, and I don't know how this fits with the other buildings on the street, on Commercial Street. I think it's going to be outstanding. It's going to be a lot of color that we normally don't have, particularly on the balustrade. So that's my opinion, but I wish we had that
A more graphic representation
graphic,
of
of what, the way it looks, because we are responsible to say this is compatible with the historic district requirements, it fits in with the neighborhood, it's that sort of thing. And in my opinion, this may not, may be a little over-painted with all the different colors, but of course you can't tell because it's a black and white picture.
Thanks, Peter. Rod?
I look at this, and actually, I find that using the criteria that we have, which is the compatible with the motherlode style, I feel that what's presented here does meet that. Although we do not have a color rendering, we have been shown a diagram in which the different locations of the colors are indicated. And we have to use our judgment to compare that to the rest of the historic district. And we'll never have a perfect rendering of everything in the historic district and the colors exactly as they are. So using that criteria of the motherlode compatibility and looking at examples from the time, I did a little research, trying to find some color examples. I know there are some letters commenting on the fact that there were probably mainly more highly contrasting lighter trim colors, but when I looked at examples, I would say those predominated, but that didn't mean there weren't any examples that had less contrasty color, less contrasting color as well. So although this may be different than most of them, I don't feel that it's incompatible. I think the colors are historically compatible, and I think the combination of the colors is as well. I think that, when we look at what's out there now, we don't have pictures of exactly what it looked like, back in the late 1800s. And so we do have to use some judgment. And when the historic guidelines were put together, there's always, trends to a certain extent, even within historical re-representation or restoration in terms of colors. So again, there's always that element of judgment that has to come into this. And compatibility is always going to be a matter of judgment. We don't say identical, that would make it easy, except that there's, not one example of identicalness either. So using my judgment, I find this meets the standard. Those are my comments.
Thanks. I'll go to you and then to me.
All right. Well, you answered my question that I had, which was just how does this address getting to see those beautiful architectural details? I think these colors, I do think that you listened to what we asked. And I think that you clearly are going to pour love into this building, which is a really important thing when you live in a historical town, to show respect to the architecture. And I think you've done that by hiring Raquel, and thanks. That's really, I appreciate that. I agree with you, Rod. I think that I am not, you know more about this than
Can
I
I make
do.
a comment or?
I think
not?
later
Yes, okay.
you can make a yeah.
You can ask a question.
What would you like to share, Raquel? I don't have a question
thank
for you,
you,
but
thank you.
I am curious to know what you have to say.
I am extremely sensitive to color for obvious reasons. Otherwise I wouldn't do it, and I would never paint a building in a color that is not compatible or is somewhat all right with the buildings next to them.
I believe that.
So the building to the left, if you're standing in front of it, the building to the left is like a grade green with a lot of very modern black trim. And then the one on the other side, it's the black, what are the wild horse? The crazy horse. Also has some black and some burgundies, but I remember working on the building that was right next to the National where it was green for 100 years. And I went through great lengths to try to find a color that wouldn't fight with it. We don't want a Murano situation here. I don't know if any one of you has been to Murano in Venice, but it's it's a kid's crayon box. So I take that into consideration when I recommend colors.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Crayon boxes can be fun too, but I
In the right
assumed,
context,
that you
in
were
the right
thinking about
context,
that.
yes.
And I appreciated you answering my questions earlier. Thanks.
My sense of this color scheme overall is that it will stand out on the block. It's darker. It's darker than its neighbors overall. It's a strong statement. The previous proposal looked starkly contemporary, and the black trim especially. It's a fashionable thing. And my view is when a fashion out in the world is brought into the historic district, it's recognizably contemporary. So it breaks the historic spell a bit. I will say that I feel that the direction you were given was that the body color was okay, and we had a difficulty with the trim color. And it seems to me that you took our direction and enthusiastically embraced it, and with an intent to make something beautiful. I think the Palladian blue is a very nice paint thinner, as it were. It really lightens the building, and it's an appropriate paint for the underside of an eave. I think it's a very nice composition, and it would be, in my opinion, unfair to deny or send you back with more direction, since you did answer our request proactively, and I think very attractively.
Thank you.
So with that, how about a motion?
I move that we approve the colors as presented by the applicant.
I will second that.
Roll call, Donna.
Commissioner Shisco Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant,
I'm inclined to say no, but I'm going to abstain because on the basis of incomplete information, I don't know how to get it to be compatible with the neighbors. So I'll abstain on this one.
and Chair Knight.
Yes. Thanks a lot.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really gonna be beautiful. Yeah. And by the way, if
I hope it does come out looking good, but I just can't make the
No. But
And
if-
best of luck with the prep.
No. Thank you. I was gonna say that when I came in, I said, oh my God, if they deny it now, because I probably it's a 2-month job. So if we start right away, we're gonna be done by then, but if we take another month, it's like we'll be out there painting in December, and it's like, oh my God, I know, so.
It's going to be some work,
And
yeah.
one other comment on what you said, Tom, yeah, it is gonna, in the beginning, it is gonna stand out a little, it's gonna be beautiful, but let's hope it makes everybody else up their game. I'll say that,
Yeah, I like that.
seriously, you know, because it's a beautiful street. It's a beautiful.
And just a little comment about renditions, now with CAD and all the computer things. There are two reasons I don't submit them. A, I am of an age and not very technically involved, but it takes a huge amount of effort, and it never looks like the actual paint. It just doesn't. So you can look at a million colors online, and when you actually see the color, it's because it goes through a digital camera, through the internet, through your computer screen, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very hard to get an accurate, and color is just like music. So when you're creating a color scheme, just one little key change, using a music analogy, it throws it all off and it doesn't work anymore, and you cannot see it from a computer rendition. So when I did the storefront, the client was willing to pay me to do colored pencils. I don't know if you remember that, but I submitted, I don't know, all the little florets at the top, and everything was color penciled, because that's actually is closer to the paint. So that's just as a comment on color renditions, computer generated.
I would like to, not to be argumentative, but to support Peter's point, it would be helpful when we look at color schemes to see something like, they don't have to be faithful renditions of the shades, just to know like
Somewhat.
where the gold is going to be, like to see like that's the gold, and we can look at the samples and see that, because it's hard to connect the color memory to a number on a photo.
I agree. And also, the proportions are vitally important, so
Yeah.
I agree. And even just the color photo of the neighbors to the right and left would have been helpful, so.
So, yeah, so your hesitancy to misdirect somebody who would look at such a rendering because the colors aren't faithful, it's still helpful in considering where kind of each color goes, if not the combination itself. And with that, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm excited to go look at these in the sun and see what happens.
Yes.
Well, this picture at the end, I'm sure it's not faithful to the exact colors if we're standing there, but it's kind of sufficient to see what the color scheme is on the street.
No, your point is well taken, Peter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck.
And Rick Beatty is up, 437 Broad Street. I had a suspicion.
Could you tell by the diagrams? It's
Do you actually want to have some of these articles that I wrote? They're all marked in here if you're interested, just so you can see how I'm thinking about things. Anybody interested?
It doesn't have, it can't be part of what we're looking at
I'm not
today.
advertising myself.
No,
It's
no.
more just so you, okay. So I will leave them here, and if they go away afterwards, it's just fine by me.
Okay, thank you.
I'll read them.
I'll just leave them here, and you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to pass around the color palette for this project. Like Chair Nice said, this is for an application for architectural review for a repaint in the historic district at 437 Broad Street for Rick and Jody Beatty. Their color consultant Raquel is present today with us and will help answer questions. The residence is shown on the Sanborn map, both from 1898 and 1912. The carriage house on the back of the lot, which fronts Spring Street, is not depicted on the Sanborn maps, and the assessor doesn't have an estimated construction date for that, but staff assumes that it was constructed prior to 1962. The palette that is proposed is I'll jump to it here. It appears to me to be sort of grayish beige tones for the body and trim, and then a darker grayish blue accents, and a little bit of mopboard black. There's several pictures of all of the buildings and their proposed colors in your packet. The primary house is proposed to be painted along with the shed in the back and the carriage house. So all buildings on the site are included in the proposal. Anything that you'd like to add that I may have missed?
Just that this has been a long journey. If you see our house, yes, I loved our house. I didn't want to change any of the colors, but to me, it's warm, inviting, it's fun. My wife says it looks like a circus. So us trying to come up with
that's in
something
our,
that she wanted a little bit more contemporary, not contemporary, she wanted more classic looking. Took 4 or 5 months of no progress at all till Raquel came in. And 6 hours later, I think we came up with our color scheme, and we're both extremely thrilled. I mean, it's going to look so beautiful. I hope there's enough material for you to look at and get kind of an
Do you want to
idea.
give them this? I think this would help, just so you can kind of get a sense of again, excuse my crafts kindergarten level. But
And
sometimes it's actually
I have
more
now.
accurate than, especially for Peter, if you can give that to him.
So what she did is, if you look, she did what the columns might look like, just some patterns, what some of the detail at the top might be, and just basically the color scheme clipped to the top there.
The one thing that is not part of all of this is the roof color, and the roof color is always needs to be taken very seriously into account. And it's kind of like a terracotta reddish. So we went through a lot of effort to make sure that the body color actually looks well with the roof.
Yes.
That currently will last for another at least 10 years.
So,
So that's the house color right here.
It looks so
The house
different.
color, the body
that's
color?
That's
the body color, yeah.
Yeah, that's the body color.
That's B?
Yes, correct. Yes,
Different on the bigger sample, much different.
yes. And
it
then you
looks
put it on
different
the whole
outside,
building,
yeah.
it's going to be very,
yeah.
It also
yes.
looks different if you hold it this way versus,
Right.
get it in the
And if
dark,
I
so-
can just make a comment about the black, we use the black that's more of a charcoaly because I feel that Benjamin Moore added some colors to the historical collection in the last 5 years and one of them is actually called black, very creative, but it's a very modern black. It's very sharp and very strong, and in my personal humble opinion, unless you use very small amounts of it, it doesn't emulate the historical nature of what they used to use as black. So we used a tiny bit of black here, but it's a more muted one. So just, that's my thought about black. And then the back balustrade, to soften it even further, we made it a real charcoal. If you go on page 2, I don't know, do you have this? Or maybe you don't.
Yeah, we do.
So the balustrade is actually like a grayish to not make it so modern looking, for less of a, if that helps.
And the last thing I'll say also is that, so throughout the house, I went through and matched up, here's the color schemes that are going to be on this. Raquel did some, she did with the other guy too, circles and A's and B's and C's and, just determining where all those colors are. So if you want to look at that, that's available to see as well.
Thank you. We'll just keep it over there for now.
I'll take a look at it. I will. I think in the future it would be handy if these things came in the packet.
Yeah.
Okay, what am I looking for here?
So those are just all the different parts of the,
Well, you had it.
It gives you the view of the side of the building and what colors will show
Okay,
on that
there we
view.
And there's like an inner courtyard that, where you see the cellar and the carriage house from the inside, and then there's the carriage house on the outside, on the lower street as well.
Yeah, so it's
Okay,
it's
that's
the
the same
as
stuff
what's in the
that's in our
packet.
packet.
yeah.
Thank you. I didn't-
Just more detail on it. And the last thing I'll say is the philosophy I think we came into this is that, we wanted to have a classic-looking building. We have probably, I would say, 3 primary colors, and then we have accent colors that we picked, or Raquel picked, or we picked. We picked it together, didn't we?
Yes,
Pick it
we
together?
picked it
Yeah.
together.
So that it would not be blaringly different, but it would blend in clean with the house, and that's what we got.
Can I ask you, Rick, did you paint the house in its current configuration? You
I
did
did
the other
not,
one?
no. That's the way we bought it. I guess that was done, before, that was done 15 years ago, I guess, that
Yeah, it's been around
paint.
for a while.
Before that, it was pink.
Pink?
Yeah. I'm not sure how that got through the commission, but yeah, it was pink, all pink. Where were you guys? That was a bad call.
Maybe it didn't look so bad in a very small,
Any, have we asked our questions? Yeah, Peter, do you have anything? I'm going to.
No, I do not.
Mr. Brown, Commissioner Brown?
I have no questions either.
I'll say again, what I did for myself was print this out in color and then write the color numbers on there, which helped me somewhat, but there are so many colors. So I don't know exactly what the ideal approach is. It's a very nice palette, but I'm not sure exactly what goes where.
I think this book is helpful.
That will show you, and then,
might
and
give
this
you
might help as
just a
well.
little bit more. So this is kind of like the upper, if I may approach, Your Honor.
I laugh.
You're gonna have to pass it around.
We call
So
him His
this-
Excellency.
This is the upper part of the upper part of the front of the house. So here is like, this is the sash, this is the trim, and the eaves are gonna be in the trim color. There's gonna be there's this grayed out black, then there is the, actually the body color, and then there's one little strip of the trim color right here, so you can kind of see it quite schematically. And this is kind of like a little detail, schematic detail of all this, if you, let's see here.
And those color swatches are somewhat.
No, these are the actual
Oh,
color,
okay.
these
Yeah,
are
those
the
are the
actual color
colors.
cards. That's why I did
like
that.
that.
So you can see here, the corbels is gonna be
Tom, we don't mean to confuse you. Sorry about that.
And here is the somewhat, so you can get a sense of the column. Now, of
No
course,
comment
the
needed.
column, these repeat themselves. So there's in the bottom, and then they're in the top, and then again in the top. And then there are these rectangles and the corbels and all these details, and this is somewhat represented in here. So it kind of, does that help you?
Yeah,
Thomas?
if you could pass it down this
Yes.
way.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I don't know if it's relevant. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it. So is it kind of like where there was terracotta, did you replace things kind of exactly, or did you kind of get more,
More or less.
you kind of kept like the details, but just not necessarily like everything purple is now a
Right,
yeah, okay.
right. Which
I wasn't sure
It's
if you
quite
were,
close, but
but it's not necessarily exactly like, if
no,
this is
not
one
all
color, that's
terracotta.
also the same color.
Correct,
Okay,
correct. Occasionally, we
That's
took
fair.
it a little bit down, but it's a similar, it's just that the colors are a little bit more subtle and are more in line with Jody's affinity to colors. I mean, by the way, I think that the previous job was fantastic from the point of view of a painted lady. There's nothing wrong with this color scheme, but again, the owner needs to resonate with the colors, and it's
Totally.
not the colors that
Yeah.
Jody has affinity for, so we,
Yeah.
Jody wanted to reduce a lot of the colors. She wanted to turn it maybe three colors. And I
like a
was,
good compromise.
yeah, I was pretty, I wouldn't say adamant. I had a partner in crime here who said, you really need to add a little bit more texture to it, a little bit more background. And what Raquel did with the house itself, and then took forward the columns and the trim and all of the little accoutrements all over it, what she did with the other colors to highlight it, I think it's going to look great.
This is super helpful to see, yeah.
yeah, just, I mean, it's schematic, but it's just something to, yeah.
It's more colorful, sorry, it's not comment time, than I thought. Yeah.
With no more questions, public comments, you guys are in favor completely, so you don't count.
We know your vote.
Yeah, we know your vote.
Well, I did say, I don't mind going back to the original colors, but Jody won't like that, so.
Pink?
Would you like us to say no?
Yeah, if you said no, I said, you have to leave it out, you have to leave it.
Good question, Ed.
Just remember, I'll tell her.
Yeah, I know.
But that wouldn't be a binding decision because it has been agendized and publicly noticed, so,
All right,
yeah.
we'll move forward with what we got.
So, commission discussion now. Peter?
Could we start with somebody else? I always start and I don't get the,
It's just
I
like-
don't get the,
Okay.
I don't get the flavor of my solo commissioners here.
Yes. All right,
So-
no, that's fair. And would you
offer-
like to begin?
Flavor. Yeah, seeing this, it's more colorful than I thought it was going to be. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, these are super subdued colors. But actually, I think once they're all out there, they're going to be pretty glorious.
Yeah.
And do they also resonate with you?
Oh, yeah,
Or just, okay.
no.
No, I think these are beautiful. I know that's irrelevant. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I think that they do the trick.
It's a contemporary flavor, but it's passably period. It's a hack of the vernacular, in my opinion, and I think it works really well. I'm fine with it. I think you've done a very nice job, and I've come to really love your current paint job.
You've come to love it?
No, I do love it. I do. I did from the first, it was at first sight. But no, appreciated that you need to paint it, and yeah, good job. I have no issues with any of it.
Yeah, I think it's historically compatible, and I think it looks great too. So,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think with the many colors, but also the features of the front of this house, if it brings them out, it brings out the features. So I'm happy about this.
Okay, with that motion?
I'll move that we approve the colors as presented.
Second?
Excellent. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Shisko Martinez,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Zant,
Yes.
and Chair Knight.
Yes,
Motion carries.
you're in business.
I was curious, have you guys been noticing more darker colors coming to your commission?
Gray with black trim.
Yeah. Really, a lot of that.
I was watching an HGTV show, and it was one of those flip that house things, and the woman who was being shown houses, she goes, another gray box. And this is a, Midwestern,
Yeah.
anyway.
Well,
We
thank you.
see a lot of
thank you very
gray.
much.
Well, and that's
We,
our big challenge in the historic district is how historic is the colors and does, are you overpainting the architecture so it disappears? And not in this case, it actually, you're pointing it up, so it's nice.
And the other thing that wasn't mentioned in here that Raquel did so greatly, she took our little bitty, swatch of this and said, how's this going to look? Have you guys seen, do you know my house?
I
yeah.
recognized it immediately, yeah.
Yeah, so she looked at all the flowers. Is this going to match? Is this going to match the
That's
flowers? Is this
cool.
going to match the brick? Is this going to match the concrete? Is this, and we got a ton of flowers if you haven't seen it. So, yeah, we're excited about it, so thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I
might spend more
recognize
time
3 or
looking
4
at it Before
prime.
you paint it,
Yeah,
though. So
well-
if you see me on your, I'm just, because I
Yeah, just
haven't
come on
actually
out.
sat
No,
there.
it really is historically speaking, painted lady speaking, it's a fantastic job, but the client doesn't, we all have our tendencies, what we like and what we don't like, so.
Also, don't you think like the trends of whenever this was painted, they all bleed through a little bit, like whenever this was painted like this, like whatever was popular at that point.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
little of that in there too, so it's okay to,
That was my
Meld the
point. That was my
worlds.
point earlier.
yeah.
Well, come by as soon as you want because it's going to get tomorrow, next week it'll be almost all
Wow,
Primed.
primed up. You can
All
see
right.
that, oh, you can't see.
this will be my reminder. I'll put it
Yeah.
on my fridge.
So,
That's cool. Oh, and I want to give these back to you.
well, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
All, and I'll bring you pictures when it's done.
I'll crash a party if I see one.
All right, thanks again.
Thank you.
Oh,
All right.
the binder.
Oh,
That's right, you, with the.
Do you want the rest of these?
Yeah, the painter might need that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
you.
Thanks.
Any commissioner announcements? I only have a few. Our next meeting is the 17th of October. We're also hosting through our, the city's Strategic Initiative Committee for Economic Development, Economic Development and Community Development meeting. We're hosting a workshop for potential revision to our short-term rental ordinance. That's going to be on October 21st from 6 to 9 p.m. If anybody in the audience or anybody on the commission would like to come and make public comment on that or participate. And that's all I've got for you.
and will materials for that be posted publicly?
Yeah,
before?
they will go out the Friday before, so I think that's the 18th of October. They'll be posted on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything from anybody? With that, we will adjourn.